Welcome to CBS Easy.
All right, if you've got board exams coming up, you are in exactly the right place. Today, we're diving deep into H.G. Wells' classic story, Footprints Without Feet, and I'm going to break down everything you need to crush it. Let's get right into it. Seriously, think about it. It's a fun question, right? But what if someone actually did it? Well, we're about to meet a man who figured it out. And let's just say his choices weren't exactly heroic. This is the story of his journey from a scientific genius to an invisible menace.
So, here's our game plan. First, we'll get to know our main character. Then we'll follow his trail of chaos through London and a small village. We'll watch the insane climax unfold, and then we'll wrap it all up with a quick-fire review to make sure this all sticks for your exams. Sound good? Let's begin.
First up, let's get to the heart of the matter and figure out who this guy Griffin really is. Is he a hero of science who made an incredible breakthrough? Or is he just a villain who abused his own amazing discovery?
So who is Griffin? Well, he's this absolutely brilliant scientist. After tons of experiments, he figures out the secret to making the human body totally transparent. He drinks this cocktail of rare drugs and poof, his body becomes as clear as a pane of glass. It's still solid, you can touch him, but you just can't see him. An absolutely mind-blowing achievement.
And this, right here, is the core problem with Griffin's character. On the one hand, he's a certified genius who did the impossible. But on the other hand, he's got a really short fuse and absolutely no respect for the law. So when his landlord tried to kick him out, what does he do? He sets the entire house on fire. Just pure revenge. And to get away without being seen, he had to take off all his clothes, which is how he begins his new life as an invisible, homeless man.
I want you to just picture this for a second. You're invisible, but you're also naked, you're broke, and it's the middle of a freezing cold winter in London. Griffin is in a really bad spot, and when people get desperate, they tend to make some very, very bad decisions.
So what's his plan? Well, first he slips into a huge department store. As soon as it closes, he helps himself. He gets some warm clothes, finds food to eat, and ends up sleeping on a pile of quilts. But here's the problem. Clothes make him visible again. And even worse, they don't solve the problem of the big, empty space where his head should be. This leads him to a theatrical shop on Drury Lane for a disguise.
But his plan completely backfires. He actually oversleeps in the store, and the next morning the workers spot him. The only way he can escape is to quickly tear off all his nice new clothes, making him invisible again, but also leaving him totally naked in the bitter January cold. This is his constant dilemma: be visible and warm, or be invisible and freezing.
Now, this next part is a crucial turning point. When he gets to that theatrical shop, he doesn't just steal a disguise. He straight up attacks the poor shopkeeper from behind and takes every last bit of money he can find. This is the moment Griffin stops being just a trespasser and becomes a truly violent criminal.
Griffin needs to get away from the crowds of London, so he takes a train to this quiet little village called Epping. He's hoping for some peace and solitude to continue his work, but instead, he brings nothing but total chaos.
The innkeeper's wife, a Mrs. Hall, thinks he is just the strangest person she's ever met. I mean, who shows up in a tiny village in the middle of winter? Not only that, but his head is completely covered in bandages. He's wearing dark glasses, a fake nose, the works. He's also really grumpy and just wants to be left alone. She puts up with it, though, because he paid in advance with that stolen money, but that money is about to run out.
And what a surprise! Soon after Griffin admits he's out of cash, something very mysterious happens nearby. The local clergyman and his wife hear noises from their study, the unmistakable sound of coins being stolen. He grabs a fire poker and bursts into the room, only to find it completely empty. The desk is open, the money's gone, but there's nobody there.
And then, things get even crazier. Mrs. Hall notices Griffin's room is wide open and empty, with his bandages and weird clothes just lying around. As she's looking, suddenly, the hat on the bedpost just flies across the room and hits her in the face. And then the bedroom chair itself comes to life, charges at her and her husband, and shoves them out of the room before slamming and locking the door. She is terrified, completely convinced the room is haunted. By now, the whole village is suspicious. They're connecting the dots between the strange scientist, the burglary, and the haunted furniture. Mrs. Hall decides to confront him, the village constable has been called, and Griffin is finally, totally cornered.
Pushed right to the edge, Griffin loses it. He becomes absolutely furious and screams at the crowd that's gathered around him. "You don't understand who or what I am. Very well, I'll show you." He is done hiding. He's about to reveal his impossible secret in the most dramatic way possible.
And then he does it. In just a few seconds, he rips off his entire disguise. The bandages, the whiskers, the glasses, the fake nose, it all comes flying off. And the horrified people in the inn find themselves staring at something that just shouldn't be possible. A man standing there with no head.
Right at this moment, Constable Jaffers arrives. Now, he's here to do his duty and arrest a man, but he was probably not prepared to arrest a headless one. As Jaffers tries to grab him, Griffin starts throwing off the rest of his clothes, becoming more and more invisible. Jaffers finds himself in a fight with someone he can't even see, getting hit by punches that come from nowhere, until he's finally knocked unconscious. In the chaos, Griffin makes his escape.
Okay, what a story, right? Now let's switch gears and make sure all that information is locked in for your exam. I'm going to hit you with a few quick multiple-choice questions, and then we'll go over the absolute key takeaways you need to remember.
Okay, first question for you. Why was Griffin wandering the streets of London? Was it A, he was sightseeing, B, he had set fire to his house and had no clothes or money, or C, he was looking for another scientist? Think for a second. The answer is B. He burned down his landlord's house in revenge and had to make a run for it.
All right, next one. What did Griffin do in the theatrical shop in Drury Lane? Did he A, buy a ticket for a play, B, ask for directions to Ipping, or C, steal a disguise and rob the shopkeeper? Yep, you got it. The answer is C. This was that huge moment where he crossed the line into violent crime.
And the final question. Who was knocked unconscious while trying to arrest Griffin? Was it A, the clergyman, B, Mrs. Hall's husband, or C, Constable Jaffers? Of course, it was poor Constable Jaffers. He bravely tried to arrest a man he couldn't see and got knocked out for his troubles.
So, to wrap this all up nice and neat for your exam, here are the absolute key takeaways. First, Griffin's character. He's brilliant, but he's also lawless, quick-tempered, and violent. That leads us right to the central theme. This is a story about the misuse of an incredible scientific discovery. And a great way to describe his journey is his transformation from an eccentric scientist into a completely lawless person.
And that really brings us to the big idea at the end of it all. Griffin was a brilliant scientist, no question, but he was also a terrible human being. His story really makes you wonder, what does it teach us about the responsibility that comes with having great power or great knowledge? It's one thing to be brilliant, but it's another thing entirely to have the moral character to use that brilliance wisely. It's a great question to think about. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer.
Thank you for watching with us. See you next time.